In this retreat, I will speak of everything, because everything is connected in the inner realm, and even our connection and expression and the place we are coming from in connection to the outer world is deeply connected to our spiritual realization. We have been emphasizing the work with the heart, awakening of the heart, deeper and deeper, for the last many months. And I'm sure many of you have realized how much your ability to access the heart, to awaken it, to embody it, to become your heart, is dependent on the realization of your pure subjectivity and primary subjectivity, because that is the space which is containing the heart. Otherwise, you experience the heart only psychosomatically. So I would like to begin this retreat with going through all the main states of awakening in pure and primary subjectivity, approaching it in a more simple manner, without going through all the fine details, with which most of you should be already knowledgeable, but at the same time from a deeper place, and emphasizing different aspects, different components of our spiritual awakening. How does spiritual awakening happens? Recently, quite recently in fact, I had quite many revelations in this respect. A revelation in terms of not really, not in a sense that new things were revealed to me personally, but rather revelations in the conceptual clarification. Conceptual and yet having very profound practical implications. And hopefully you will benefit through them. Spiritual awakening can be seen in a very simplistic manner, such as recognizing who one is, or recognizing different centers or dimensions within oneself that were so far hidden, and we activate them, and then we move into those places and live from them. And that is all true, but it reflects only the truth of awakening on a surface. Awakening is a function of intelligence. It's all about intelligence. But intelligence is more what it seems. So you need to look at it deeper. You need to feel the nature of intelligence deeper. One could say, what about love? What about heart? Well, that which is awakening heart, that which is realizing love, is intelligence. There's no heart without intelligence. There's no love without intelligence. Then you could ask, what about consciousness? And this is also an important matter to understand, that consciousness, there's no such a thing as consciousness on its own. Consciousness is intelligence. Consciousness is not an independent space beyond intelligence, which is self-recognizing. There's no such thing. Intelligence is recognizing. And that space, because we are entering different spaces of consciousness, such as universal consciousness, for instance, that space is containing intelligence, indeed, but recognition and a knowing and feeling, which is embedded in that space, is an activity of intelligence. Consciousness is a unity of certain dimension of space in which we exist beyond the mind and intelligence. And there are different spaces that have different qualities, different flavors, where intelligence can realize itself deeper and feel itself deeper or differently. It's kind of when you are in the mountains, like we are here, it is the same space, but it has a different flavor than the space which you feel by the ocean. There's a different feeling to it, different energy within that space. So when intelligence enters that space, it becomes consciousness. So in that sense, because to truly awaken the heart, intelligence has to enter there. When it enters there fully, the heart actually becomes consciousness. So gradually, as we evolve and integrate, all that separations become dissolved. Separation between consciousness and intelligence, between consciousness and love, and between love and consciousness. Consciousness enters the heart, or the heart becomes consciousness, and love enters the head, and the head, consciousness, becomes love. The reason consciousness is first realized in the head region and in the proximity of the head, behind the head, for instance, is because intelligence, it is the easiest for the intelligence to reach there, to enter there. It's more difficult, much more difficult for intelligence to enter the heart or to enter being. That's why we tend to perceive them as being something else than consciousness. But that is just because of our limited viewpoint. So intelligence, there are 4 types of intelligence. Conscious intelligence. At this point, subconscious intelligence is not our concern, because only the conscious intelligence has the power to awaken. So there are 4 types of intelligence. There's the personal intelligence, which is experienced by the person directly. And it is localized in the front of the head. This is where usually people experience their thoughts, because most people experience intelligence through thinking, especially the personal intelligence, or the personal intelligence through thinking. But intelligence is more than thinking. Intelligence is feeling. Intelligence is knowing. And by the way, another way to define consciousness is self-realized intelligence. Intelligence which is ignorant, which lives in the state of forgetfulness, does not have pure subjectivity, does not have a tangible sense of self, does not have I am. It just lives in the space of the mind. Psychosomatic intelligence is intelligence through which you experience, you feel your body, sensations in your body, and also you experience emotions in your body, feelings in your body, especially in the emotional centers. Because the head has to be somehow linked to the body. Mind has to be linked to the body. It is linked to the nervous system, through which information travels back and forth. And when it is registered consciously, the personal intelligence is involved. Now, the 2 other forms of intelligence which are most important in terms of facilitating, enabling spiritual awakening are transference intelligence. If you remember, there were many online retreats speaking of transferring of intelligence from the person into, for instance, universal consciousness or absolute. That is transference intelligence. Because personal intelligence cannot enter there directly. It is stuck in the forefront of the head. So new intelligence is created, is born. The one who is able to enter all these dimensions and link the person with a deeper subjectivity. And I will speak of it more practically. It is that transference intelligence that embodies universal consciousness, awakens and embodies the Absolute, and it is the one who awakens the heart and embodies the heart. One of the reason that some of the students were struggling with spiritual awakening is the inability to properly activate transference intelligence. Meaning they were trying to experience all these states of subjectivity through psychosomatic intelligence, and it does not work at all. And psychosomatic intelligence cannot embody anything. And finally, the last intelligence is a primary intelligence, but that one is realized in primary subjectivity. And we will go through it as well in primary consciousness, specifically, when consciousness is in a state of complete vertical surrender. Primary consciousness is a fusion of primary intelligence is a fusion of personal intelligence and universal intelligence. It becomes universalized. Personal intelligence becomes universalized, and unlike the personal intelligence alone, it is not confined to the front of the head. It is experiencing the whole head space. And in primary intelligence, the external person is dissolved. One of the most important goals in our evolution, eventually, it's not that easy, but eventually, is for primary intelligence to enter the heart and to become the heart, as well as the Absolute. Meaning everything that you are in pure subjectivity, in primary subjectivity, is embodied and experienced through primary intelligence. Primary intelligence even enters your physical body. And since we spoke about the boundless love before, boundless love is also expanding through primary intelligence, eventually. Only primary intelligence is capable of direct embodiment, whether it is Absolute, or your heart, or universal consciousness. Transference intelligence is embodying these spaces, these states, in distance. It's, I believe, a term that I used before, embodiment in distance. Embodiment in distance is real, is profound, but it is a weaker embodiment, incomplete embodiment. So in the past, the way I described it was that because our first subject will be awakening, or if it's already awakened, to perhaps deepen or to experience it from a deeper place, the universal consciousness. So the way I spoke about this in the past is that there's a transference of intelligence through the inward person, because the person has to turn back, or has to reorientate himself towards the inner dimension. So from the inward person, intelligence is being transferred via pure attention, and pure attention is supposed to be one with that intelligence, otherwise it is objectified and it is not pure. We are not just paying attention. Pure attention is not paying attention. Pure attention is feeling directly what it is meant to feel, and experience directly what it is meant to experience. That first awakening to universal consciousness is actually represents a dramatic state level, dramatic step in our evolution. Something revolutionary. That is just the beginning of our evolution, at least on our path, but it is the beginning, true beginning. Entering, for the first time ever, the spiritual realm, entering self. Entering that very substance from which God is made of. Experiencing it initially, just very little, but still experiencing, beginning to experience God's nature. And what are the difficulties in attaining such awakening? This transition for human beings is simply not easy. It's a total, radical change of everything. And for that to be successful, as I have explained, transference intelligence has to be activated. One can have spontaneous awakening to this or that, but one can never become it, one can never embody it, if there's no transference intelligence. Of course, even if you do not have the concept of transference intelligence, you can still intuitively have activated it. But without that intelligence, nothing can happen. So that's that once. Pure attention, second. And pure attention is in fact attention of intelligence, of transference intelligence. This is what pure attention is. Again, the duality between attention and intelligence, here's what we need to see them as being two different aspects of the same. So that there's a difficulty in the initial struggle for seekers who are not particularly mature to activate transference intelligence. In all these transmissions and initiations into pure consciousness, there's also a transmission of transference intelligence. But still you need to recognize it, master it within yourself. So the next difficulty is reaching the necessary energetic transformation which allows one to shift into those deeper states. Meaning that intelligence itself is struggling. As you have been struggling before with entering to universal consciousness, like you simply cannot get there. The door is closed. That's why we use all those tools, such as different types of surrender, establishing pure me in order to have a center there, which empowers, gives us a deepest place in our head from which we can actually enter universal consciousness. In that process of awakening of pure consciousness, we are opening the headspace, meaning actually transference intelligence first enters the head space as a whole. People do not experience, there's no consciousness, there's no conscious intelligence in their head except the front of the head. That's why it is so confusing. How to, for instance, feel the back of the head It's not just that we are not used to it, we just don't know how to do it, because the only way we experience it, our head, is psychosomatically. And even that is difficult because the brain actually doesn't have a nervous system like the body, so it cannot be felt. You can feel your hand, but you cannot feel your brain. So the only way to feel that space contained in your head is that the deeper intelligence has to enter there. It opens the space. And as it opens the space, that space is already felt as consciousness. So in that sense, for instance, that which some people experience, which is a state of awareness, I think it's interesting, is transference intelligence, which was somehow activated, experiencing itself within the headspace, as consciousness, but unable to link itself with the universal consciousness. But it is also important to understand that even if you are not able to pass through the portal to universal consciousness, as long as pure me is activated, as long as you have a sense of pure subjectivity in the head, you are already experiencing consciousness. Of course, one can experience consciousness without having properly embodied it, but that simply means that consciousness is very poorly realized. Embodying means simply to become it, versus feeling it or experiencing it. Embodiment is a very important step in dissolving the separation or duality between intelligence and consciousness, or intelligence or pure subjectivity. Or intelligence and the space of awakening in which we have opened, into which we have entered. When you are entering universal consciousness, you may feel the space, but it is as if outside of you, because you have not embodied it, meaning you have not become it, meaning your intelligence has not realized that space as its new home. So I will be speaking for, 2-3 days, going through awakening of pure subjectivity, emphasizing it from that new place, that process of awakening. And it's good for you to re-establish all these states, to re-empower them at least, and somehow to understand deeper them, because by understanding them deeper, you are understanding yourself deeper, because they are all you, they are dimensions of you. And in the next break, I would like you to emphasize in yourself universal consciousness and to try to feel it deeper. And feel who is experiencing it. Who is actually experiencing it? Who is embodying it? And as it was explained, it is your intelligence. And in particular, transference intelligence. Transference intelligence cannot think, but it can feel, and it can know, and it does not exist as something separate from personal intelligence. It is still linked to it. It is an emanation of personal intelligence into the beyond, or at least into all these spaces beyond the mind, where we realize our deeper self. And also create a deeper relationship with universal consciousness. with the universal I am. Get to know it better. Universal consciousness is not God, but it is a dimension of God's emanation that is bridging primordial intelligence with intelligence of creation. Realization of universal consciousness is the first step to freedom. The first step towards transcendence of our state of separation from God, in fact, and the first step towards freedom, liberation from being imprisoned in the personal intelligence. As important as it is, as sophisticated as it is, it is a prison. It's all quite amazing, that process, quite fascinating. The person alone cannot transcend, is pretty helpless. It's stuck in that personal intelligence, and person is the main center of intelligence. So first, he is connecting with the spaces of freedom through transference intelligence. Is opening all these spaces. Before, at the end, he can come to a place of his own dissolution. And when he dissolves, he becomes intelligence. He is no longer a center of intelligence, he becomes intelligence.